Imagine finding an ancient book, passed down from generation to generation, and reading between the time-worn pages an incredible story. A story that tells of the origins of man and our civilization. A story made of divine beings, conflicts, and destructive catastrophes. This is the mysterious and fascinating story of the Book of Enoch, an ancient text that some consider to be the oldest book ever found. Tradition attributes the text to Enoch, the biblical patriarch, direct heir of Adam, who would have narrated in it exceptional events and facts that go beyond any imagination. Events that, read with a secular view, could make our history much more mysterious and complex, and could explain the many anomalies that we encounter in the reconstruction of our past. Before proceeding further and traveling to unknown times and places, if you have not already done so, we invite you to subscribe to the channel to support our work and not miss our new videos. To fully understand the importance of the Book of Enoch, we must take a step back in time to 1773, when the Scottish explorer James Bruce made an extraordinary discovery. While exploring the regions of Abyssinia, today's Ethiopia, Bruce came across an ancient manuscript. Brought to Europe, the text became known as the Book of Enoch. This text is written in Ge'ez, an ancient Ethiopian language, and is part of the collection of sacred books of the Ethiopian Orthodox Christian Church. It was precisely the work of the Ethiopian scribes that ensured that the text was preserved and not lost over time, as happened in the rest of the world. Confirmation that the text was very ancient came in 1947, when the famous Dead Sea Scrolls came to light in the Qumran caves. The Dead Sea Scrolls are among the oldest copies of biblical texts, and in our case have confirmed at least two things. The first is that the Book of Enoch is present in these texts. Partial traces of it have been found. The second is that, surprisingly, the texts found in this lost cave and which have withstood millennia are not that different from the versions that have been handed down over time and to which we can all access. This confirms that the methods of copying these writings were very efficient. We know in fact that those who copied and supervised the copying applied very precise techniques in order not to make mistakes. For example, they used predefined page layouts, counted the individual letters that made up each line of text, and every 5 lines written there was a careful check. Any error detected involved the destruction of the entire page. If this is what we have learned about the copying methods, today we are sure that this methodology has been very effective in transmitting the text in the most correct way possible. But then why do we no longer have traces of the Book of Enoch and all the previous texts that the manuscript seems to have been inspired by? The text of Enoch did not enter the canonical books handed down by the Jewish and Christian religions, and therefore, with the passage of time, not being copied anymore, it was lost. As we said previously, if we still have traces of this ancient text today, we owe it mainly to the work of the Ethiopian scribes who saved the manuscript and handed it down as a sacred text. Well, once these points have been clarified, let's go to the discovery of this mysterious and fascinating text and analyze the reasons that make it very interesting for the purposes of reconstructing our origins. Enoch was the 7th patriarch from creation. According to the genealogical line that starts from Adam, he is directly descended from Adam through the line of Seth. The sequence of descent is as follows: Adam, Seth, Enos, Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, and Enoch. Enoch is also the father of Methuselah, who in turn was the grandfather of Noah, making Enoch in fact a direct ancestor of Noah. We know that Enoch lived on Earth for 365 years, a considerable period if compared to the modern life of a human being, but certainly not for the biblical patriarchs who lived on average for about 900 years. But what differentiates and makes Enoch's case special is that in reality he did not die, but was taken by God and brought to the kingdom of heaven while still alive.
Enoch walked with God. After he fathered Methuselah, he lived 300 years more and had sons and daughters. The entire life of Enoch was 365 years. Then Enoch walked with God and was no more, because God had taken him.
In the Book of Enoch, the patriarch recounts the events that led to the creation of humans. But not only that, the world at that time was inhabited by other beings. According to the book's narrative, The divine beings who came from heaven created man, but a group of them found the women attractive and united with them, giving rise to a new lineage, the Nephilim. These beings are described as gigantic creatures endowed with superhuman strength.
And it came to pass that when men had multiplied on earth in those days, their daughters were born, beautiful and lovely. And the angels, the sons of heaven, saw them and desired them, and came in unto them and cohabited with them. And they bore giants to them, who became mighty men of war on earth, famous from the days of old.
The divine beings who united with women did not just give rise to giants. They also entrusted humans with the secrets of the universe and spread knowledge throughout the world, much like Prometheus did in Greek mythology when he bestowed knowledge upon all mankind.
And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives, and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth, and the art of working them, and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of precious stones, and all sorts of coloring dyes. Semjaza taught enchantments, Amaros the resolving of enchantments, Barakijal taught astrology, Kokablel the constellations, Ezekiel the knowledge of the clouds, Arakiel the signs of the earth, Shamsiel the signs of the sun, and Sariel the course of the moon.
However, this did not please the deities. Moreover, the lineage born from the union between divine beings and humans turned out to be wicked, and for this reason, the deities decided to eliminate them through a catastrophic event, a universal flood that would have the purpose of forever erasing their existence. Well, for those who follow our videos, all these speeches do not appear new. We have talked about them in previous videos, analyzing stories and testimonies that come from all over the world. The Book of Enoch therefore appears as a further piece that goes to make up a larger story. What we have learned from the Book of Enoch we find in different forms in Sumerian and Babylonian culture, where we find the Anunnaki, deities who interact with humans and become bearers of knowledge. If in the Book of Enoch the deities unite with humans and give rise to the race of giants, the Nephilim, in Sumerian mythology the Anunnaki create humans to serve the gods. In both Mesopotamian cultures and the Book of Enoch, this interaction between humans and deities leads to a destructive catastrophe, a universal flood that annihilates everything present on Earth. But a world where divine beings live and interact with humans is also found in Hindu culture, where deities, such as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, play specific roles in maintaining cosmic order and frequently interact with humans and other beings through avatars or incarnations. For example, Vishnu reincarnates several times, including the incarnation as Krishna in the Mahabharata, to restore balance and justice in the world. At this point, we cannot help but wonder if this common narrative also has common origins. If all this is the result of events that happened in the distant past, and which were then elaborated and handed down in cultures around the world. Returning to the Book of Enoch, here we find the story of divine beings, and a part of them, called fallen angels who fall in love with women and give rise to the race of giants that will lead to the destruction of the world. But the Book of Enoch does not only speak of this. Enoch is represented as a mediator between heaven and earth. He receives revelations about the functioning of the universe, about future events, and about the end of times. We should not imagine the Book of Enoch as a single book, but rather as a collection of texts, some of which are older than others. The main sections of the book are 5. The first part, known as the Book of the Watchers, tells of the creator deities and the fallen angels, the relationship that the angels had with women, the giants, and the flood that led to the death of all the Nephilim. In the second section called the Book of Parables, it contains 3 parables that deal with themes such as divine judgment, the kingdom of the Messiah, and the figure of the Son of Man, a celestial being who will judge the wicked. Some scholars see the Son of Man as a prefiguration of Jesus, and interpret this figure as a prophecy of his coming and his messianic role. This interpretation is also supported by the way in which the New Testament takes up and develops the concept of the Son of Man in relation to Jesus. The third section focuses on cosmology, describing the movement of celestial bodies, the sun, the moon, and the stars, and provides a detailed calendar based on the lunar and solar cycles. In the fourth section of the book called the Book of Dreams, Enoch tells Methuselah that he has dreamed of the earth being submerged by a great flood, and allegorically retraces the history of humanity. The final section instead contains moral exhortations and prophecies about the fate of humanity and the fallen angels, including warnings for the righteous and future generations, and concludes with an appendix that tells of the punishment suffered by the angels who united with women. Enoch therefore represents the point of mediation between the deities and humans. He represents wisdom and the sharing of knowledge, but his figure goes beyond the Book of Enoch. We find him, for example, in Islamic culture in the figure of Idris. In Greek culture, he is embodied in Hermes. And if we go back in time, we find him in Egyptian culture, where he takes on the appearance of Thoth, the god of writing, magic, wisdom, and the moon. Thoth is considered the inventor of writing, and his wisdom and his power as a mediator between the gods make him one of the most important deities of ancient Egypt. Thoth is also credited with the creation of the Great Pyramid and the custody of its true original operation. But as we saw in the previous video, Thoth is closely linked to divine beings who, in a pre-flood era, thrived on an island located beyond the Pillars of Hercules in the Atlantic Ocean. Beings with incredible abilities and wisdom, who also, after thriving on Earth, found themselves involved in a tremendous catastrophe caused by a destructive flood. Starting from the Book of Enoch, we have gone around the world, and we have seen how a single thread connects all these stories. A narrative that leads to a remote era where a race of divine beings descended on Earth and gave rise to man. At this point, we cannot help but wonder if all this is just a coincidence, or if it is part of a shared knowledge, the testimony of events that happened in the very distant past, a dark past of which today only written testimonies and mysterious architectural works remain that celebrate the glories of an ancient knowledge. We believe that behind these stories lies an ancient and complex history, a history that could rewrite everything we think we know. But we are curious to know your opinion. Write in the comments what you think, and if you like the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to support our work. Until next story.